Hey, welcome to another episode of Clear Light Connections, where we talk to the people behind the businesses of Bay Area Houston, proudly sponsored by UTMB Health. Today's special guest, Dr. Peter Wuenschel, a good friend of mine. And I think our cameraman just bumped the camera. So we're going to keep that in the segment because I think that's how we roll here. Anyway, Peter, tell us about Communities and Schools Bay Area. Such a powerful organization. I've been past board president, and I know a little bit about it. But tell the audience what makes Communities and Schools Bay Area so special.
Well, Communities and Schools has been around since 1989 here in Clear Creek ISD. We work in Clear Creek ISD and in Dickenson ISD. I have full-time employees who have some specialties in trauma-informed care, and they're on a school campus helping kids to stay in school, and they do whatever it takes to keep them in school.
Yeah, and one of our past board presidents called them angels, and,
Yes.
and they really do the work of angels. Talk about some of the things that, and are we still calling them campus coordinators?
We actually call them student support specialists.
That's right. I should have known that. I think I might have come up with that.
I think you did.
Okay. Tell us what they do on a day-to-day basis, and then maybe a few examples of some of the above and the beyond that you know about.
Okay, so as I mentioned, we have a full-time person on a school campus, and so they'll receive referrals from teachers, from the principal, from the custodian, from someone who says, I'd like you to meet with this student because I think they may be at risk of dropping out of school. And our employees have a specific criteria that they go through. They do an assessment to see if a student is at risk of dropping out of school. They'll call the student in, but actually prior to that, we do have to get permission from a parent to work with these students. And we'll meet with the student, we'll do some assessments, figure out what it is that's going on with them. They may have issues going on at home. They may be suffering from food insecurity, meaning they're just hungry and they can't concentrate. And so we do things like help them get hooked up with social services. We'll get them tutors if they need tutors, get them mentors if they need mentors, and we'll do referrals. And we're doing a lot more now for issues of mental health. And that's something they do every single day. We work with any student that walks through the door. We do need parental permission, and we do have criteria when we're looking at what makes them at risk of dropping out.
Yeah, and so TEA has like 10, 11, 12 at-risk factors, but Communities and Schools Bay Area, we really tended to focus on the economically disadvantaged because that tends to be a good indicator. Talk about some of the challenges that those students are facing. You already mentioned food insecurity, but
Correct.
Dive into that a little deeper because I don't think people fully appreciate or realize how significant the problem is here in this area.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that happens with kids who are at risk of dropping out of school, a lot of people say, well, it's the parents, isn't it? And my answer to that is it may be the home situation. Parents of kids, especially who are low income, are doing everything they can. And we sometimes look at it from a middle class. We do have the ability as middle class parents typically have two parents. One might work out of the home and one's in the home. Or if they both work, they're all home at the end of the day. The parents that these kids are working with may be working 12 hours a day. And so when a student gets home from school, the parent is not necessarily there to help them out. And the child has to get their own food, maybe take care of some younger brothers, younger sisters. And so it really is just a different situation at home. And so that's one of the things that our kids are going through. And then at other points, the kids may not have food in their stomach, and if you don't have food in your stomach, you can't concentrate on academics.
Yeah,
and so it becomes a major issue. But what our staff do is they have the ability to get these kids resources. And one of the things that I really think is fantastic about this particular community, the Clear Lake area, is we have businesses that are so interested in making sure that kids do succeed that we have a program called Adopt a School. So a company will do a food drive for us. They may come in on a weekly basis to do mentoring and tutoring. And so the community is there coming to help these kids to make sure that they do succeed.
Yeah, and the results speak for themselves. Talk a little bit about what really sets communities and schools apart is the fact that it's the reliance on data, and it's the ability to use data to show results. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. We are a research-based program. We have 3 tiers of service. We are available to the whole school, which is our tier 1 school-wide activities. We make a lot of our programs will have food pantries, and so food is available for any kid that needs it. We have tier 2, which are group activities, and that's focusing on kids who have shared different needs. If kids are going through anger issues or anxiety, our staff are trained to do some groups that would focus on anger, that would focus on anxiety, and then really honing in on the kids who are really at risk, that we do a full assessment on. We provide case management services. So we start with an assessment, figure out what it is that they need, develop a plan very specifically that addresses those concerns, and then we track that student throughout the year. And 3 of the main things we focus on are attendance, academics, and behavior. But then at the end of the year, we also track to make sure that they have been promoted to the next grade, and that they stayed in school, and that success has been really good. Our promotion rate is typically in the low 90s, and our stay in school rate is always in the high 90s, usually 98 to 99%.
Yeah, it's fantastic results, and the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
So you recently got some really good news. Communities and schools as a whole got some really good news. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
I will, and it was very exciting for me. I was excited and petrified at the same time that I got the news, and that is we received a $2 million grant from Mackenzie Scott. And for those of you who don't know, Mackenzie Scott is the former wife of Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon. So she's been giving money to deserving nonprofit organizations. So the big news for me was that Mackenzie Scott validated the work that we do. She doesn't give to just any organization. She does her homework and says, okay, communities and schools of the Bay Area in just outside Houston, in League City, in Dickenson, you're doing a good job, so we're going to give you $2 million. And I said that I was very excited and petrified at the same time. And one of the reasons is, it's like, what do I do with $2 million that can make a difference for the kids that we work with? So one of the things that we have done is we've taken a significant amount of that, and we're developing an endowment. And an endowment is you're in the banking industry. An endowment is investing our money so that every year we can draw down money and use that money to work with the kids that we're working with.
You're future-proofing the organization.
Absolutely. And what happens with what's happening with that money is we're creating the endowment to say we're around forever.
Yeah,
we're not going anywhere
because there was a time in the past where state funding was cut,
yep.
and we as an organization had to make difficult decisions, and hopefully this means that those decisions never have to be made again.
Absolutely. Yeah, back in 2010, after the 2008 recession, the state of Texas cut some of communities and schools funding, and they cut some of the school districts funding, and so we had a situation where we did have to close some of our schools. So we're not in like 3 of the different schools that we're in. And At that time, back in 2010, we made a commitment to begin building our reserves. And I think, to be honest, the advisors of Mackenzie Scott saw that we were stewarding our money very well, and we were in a position that we were sustainable, and we definitely are in a position to be sustainable for the rest of our life.
So that was some exciting news coming on the heels of a big expansion effort.
That is correct.
So tell us about that.
I will. I've been the executive director for communities and schools for just over 20 years and been with the organization for 25. And we started in Clear Creek ISD in 3 schools. We then expanded into Dickenson ISD, into 2 schools there. One of the things that we did, and Jameson Mackay was the president of our organization at the time we started the strategic plan. We made a strategic plan to be in every single school in Dickenson ISD, and last year we accomplished that. So we're in every single school in Dickenson ISD, the 16 schools they have, so we can work with kids who are at risk of dropping out of school from kindergarten through 12, and they have a seamless system through communities and schools.
Yeah, and people need to realize every single school in Dickenson ISD is a title school. And what that means is at least 40% or more free and reduced lunch, which is the economic indicator of at risk.
Yes.
Economically disadvantaged. What's your goal for the organization? What's your vision? What would be your ideal if you could make anything happen? What would it be for communities and schools Bay Area?
Well, we achieved one of those in Dickenson ISD, and that we are in every single school in Dickenson. And my next goal for this agency is to be in every one of the Title I schools. As you mentioned, Title I are 41% or more economically disadvantaged, so it would be to be in all of those schools. And a secondary goal is to do everything we can to make sure that students who do graduate, and we're very successful on graduating students, that they have some support once they have graduated so that they can get into a community college, go right into the workforce, and they're ready to become great citizens.
So give me one of your success stories. A student that went through the program and you were just like, wow, look at where they are now. And a little backstory on this is I'm always asking Peter for these types of stories because I think it's important for the organization to tell stories like this because they're powerful.
Absolutely. Okay. I think one of my favorite stories is one that happened here in Clear Creek ISD. There was a student in middle school who was referred to communities and schools because she was in ISS, or in-school suspension, almost daily, at least 2 times a week. And so the principal at the school asked communities and school to work with this person, and the first thing that she did was try to figure out what it is that she was interested in. And this girl happened to have some nieces, no younger siblings, but had some nieces who were younger, and she said, I enjoy, playing with my nieces. So my employee was in a classroom right next door to a special needs classroom. And so she got this girl who was in ISS almost daily to start working with the special needs students. And the most powerful thing happened once was that the girl that we work with, and I'll call her Maria, keep the name confidential. Maria started working with these special needs kids, and one of the projects she did was she helped them make tie-dyed T-shirts. And so Maria went to her student support specialist and said, will you talk to the principal and ask him if these students could wear these tie-dyed shirts on Friday, because I think they would really enjoy it. And my student support specialist response to her was, I'm not going to do that, but I think you should. I think that's one of the most powerful things that could have happened for this young lady, is she was empowered to go speak to somebody in authority about some things that she was doing. That girl has gone on she went to some community colleges, and is doing so well today. And I think it's some of those small things that happened to her with my student support specialist redirecting her energy so that she was doing something productive, something that she enjoyed, but it was also giving back to her school through the special needs program.
Awesome. Keep those stories coming. I love them.
I will.
Peter, I know you guys do great work. Thank you for all you do. I'm proud to have been a part of the organization and still support it. I encourage others to get involved and do the same.
I appreciate all the leadership that you had during a really difficult time in our organization. You helped build the program in Dickenson ISD, so I appreciate that, Jameson.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.
So, Peter, like I said, I've been a big supporter of the organization, both time, talent, and treasure. Tell others how they can get involved and some of the different opportunities to support your mission.
Well, the first thing you can do is you can visit our website, cisba.org, and you'll see on that website there are some ways that you can support us through mainly the Adopt a School program. The Adopt a School program is not really a financial commitment to communities and schools, although you can definitely do that. You can make a financial contribution. But the Adopt a School program is typically a medium-sized business working with our student support specialist. And my student support specialist has a campus plan that they can share with a business person. And the business person, if they're really wanting to get their company involved, their employees involved, they're going to know what the employees want to do. My student support specialist knows what the campus needs. And bringing those two things together is one of the most powerful things that any company could do.
Yeah, and I know some of the companies involved, their employees just love it because it's not only are they contributing, but they get to see it, and it's meaningful.
Absolutely, yes. We have several businesses in the Clear Lake area who are adopting schools and changing the lives of kids.
And you guys never turn down cash?
We absolutely don't turn down cash.
And I've heard you have this little event that's a nice little fundraiser for you in April.
We do. We have the Keep Kids in School golf tournament, which happens in mid-April. And if you're interested in that, you can go to our website and you can see some of our past activities. We have actually two events. The first is at Keep Kids in School golf tournament. That is in April. And then we have what we're calling a sip and stroll that takes place annually at South Shore Harbor. And that's coming up in September.
And all the events the communities and schools puts on are first rate. Absolutely first rate. The golf tournament is widely regarded as the best of its kind in the Bay Area.
Yep. And all the money that we raise goes back to kids.
Goes to kids.
So
thanks, Peter.
Thank you.